Hey guys.
Hey guys, we're back with Model Talk.
It's Devin Blackerby.
And Nicole Nance.
Woo.
And we're here to talk about the modeling industry and all of the stuff that goes into it.
Yeah. Sorry guys, we're like kind of low energy. We're recording this after we both worked, and we're doing if you can't tell, we're doing a bunch of recordings because Nicole will be gone at New York Fashion Week right now while this episode is being released.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So we're a little tired, but we're still here. We're still doing it.
We're killing it.
Yeah, we live in, it's like a time machine.
Yes.
Yeah, so, okay, today we're going to talk about like dieting and working out, that kind of stuff. I get asked that stuff all the time.
I think a lot of people also have that assumption of like the skinny model. So and the thing that like, well, do you even eat? Like, I think it's something that you deal with in general. So I think the general public asks a lot of questions about diet because that's one of the few like tidbits of pop culture that they know. So they could be like, well, do you diet? Like, do you like, It's an easy go-to.
There's two different people that ask that question. Somebody who wants you to say something that they can like
use against
you. Like, oh, well, I really just eat like salad or whatever. And then there's people who like genuinely they want to become models or get into the industry and they genuinely want to know what you do. And it's more often than not. Yeah, more often than not that it is somebody asking you because they don't like the way you look and they want like they want you to give them an excuse for it or something.
Yes. I agree. That's absolutely.
and two, like model sizing, like everybody looks at it really differently. Like everybody has a different definition of like model thin versus thin versus whatever. So many opinions. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, when I was modeling, I did diet. I don't think I dieted in an unhealthy way, but clearly it's very easy to fall down that hole. But I remember when I was in like 15, 16, 17, I did count calories. I believe this might be wrong. So I believe the normal amount for a woman each day, you're supposed to do like 1,200, I think.
Probably closer to, well, at like 1,200, your height, probably like 13 to 15.
Yeah.
And I don't know that for sure.
I think when I was doing it, I remember it being between 1,200 to 1,400, depending on your weight. So I remember doing 1,200. I counted calories. There was an app called Lose It. I used to use that all the time. And it wasn't because I wanted to lose weight. It wasn't me trying to drop like 25 pounds. That was never the goal. It was just me keeping track of things and also eating much leaner and healthier and cutting out a lot of the necessary like super fatty things. Not carbs necessarily, because you do need carbs. I don't think people realize you need a lot of carbs in your diet.
Especially if you're someone who works out. Like you should be eating carbs.
Yeah. So you need that. You just pick the ones that are healthier, the not as fatty ones. So I did that a lot.
I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent.
Do it.
So just to like, with the whole dieting and modeling and whatnot, the word diet, like, it's just what you eat. So your diet could be Doritos and mac and cheese. Yes. So that word is it just consists of what you eat. Vegetarian is a diet. Gluten-free is a diet. But for some reason, anytime anybody like hears that word, they assume that you're trying to reduce and lose weight and look thinner or leaner. But in modeling, if you're, I think it's typically just to maintain, especially like if you're a fit model and you have to stay the same size. I mean, your measurements are printed all over the place. So part of your job is like maintaining.
I would say it's mostly to maintain.
Yeah.
I think maybe a little bit to potentially get down to a certain size, but I think almost all of it is trying to keep your sizes. Yeah. Because you have to. That's part of your job.
And I do a lot of things that I think people would be like, oh, honey, you shouldn't be doing that to yourself. But like, I weigh myself probably about every other day, maybe every day. For me, it's a really good gauge of like how bloated am I? How this or that? And I don't take it unhealthy. Like I know what my healthy range is. And but a lot, I've said that before and people are like, why do you do that to yourself? And I'm like, so that I can keep working in a field that I really love. Like, or not even keep working, but keep, my brand,
consistent.
my who. Yeah. Anyways. that it just, yeah, there's this whole other world to it where you're just trying to be healthier. Like, I use an app called Fitbit. No, that is not what it is. That's a watch. I use MyFitnessPal.
Oh, I use that too a little. I used to, at least.
And I go back and forth with it. Like, if I have been eating really unhealthy, I'll make myself do it for like 4 days just to remind myself.
Like, cleanse it out a little.
Yeah, how bad, like, all the ketchup is that I put all over everything and whatnot. But they get really into, like, every now and then I'll do the subscription for it just so I can get into, like, my macro and micronutrients. So I can see, like, you know, if you eat enough, like, vitamin A and vitamin C, that's really good for your skin.
Yes, it is.
And so I want to make sure that if I'm, like, the food I'm eating does other stuff, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a good thing. I would say also, along with that, it's a lot of working out. And with me, I dieted, quote unquote, to keep measurements / lose inches. And when I say lose inches, I mean lose inches on your hip measurement, because they measure how a hip is measured, how anything is measured on a body. It's usually the largest part of that circumference. Is that the right word?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, for the bust, it's usually the widest part of the bust, and that's how you get your measurement, and it's all the way around. So with me, I was always trying to maintain my hip measurement, which was very hard because I do have a wider set hip, which means I do have, like, a larger butt just because of that. So for me, it was always trying to, like, lose my butt, which sounds weird, but it was...
Hips are hard.
Hips are hard.
Because if you're working out to lose it, your butt is going to get a little bit firmer.
So it was, like, a weird way of working out to where I would tone, but not... Tone to the point where I would start to, like... it would shape and lose a little bit of, like, just the fat of general, but then I would stop right before, like, I got muscle mass. Yeah, so because that's how you did it. That's just how I did it. I mean, maybe that sounds insane to someone, but that's, like, just how I did it.
A lot of women, like, they don't want to get the bulk up, so they'll do things like Pilates and the lengthening things, but you can also achieve that.
That was my favorite workout. So as someone who had a dance background, I loved bar because I used to love the dance workouts because they don't feel like you're working out, but you're getting a really good cardio workout. But it's also building muscle because you're repeating it a bunch of times. Yeah. But it's, like we said, like a long, thin one. It's not bulking. So I loved bar.
I need to.
I loved it. It's so expensive, but I loved it.
Yeah.
Like,
I hate exercising. I mean, I do it, but... Because I miss ballet so much.
And that was the other thing about bar is, like, you're going with a group, so it's almost like you feel like if you don't show up, you're held accountable because it's with a group of people. And also they do a lot of ballet technique. I know. That's part of it.
I think I'm afraid to love it, and then I'll become that person.
I loved it.
That I'm, like, head to toe bar gear all the time. Although, that's fine.
It was always me and a bunch of suburban moms.
Yeah. That's always how yoga was for me back where I, like, grew up.
Or newly engaged people. I swear so many people got engaged at my bar studio, and I was like, what is happening?
So
like,
couple of couples.
Yeah, just, like, seriously.
Is that your favorite, like, workout? Bar?
I loved bar. Bar was my favorite because it's the easiest, and I could do it, and I could work it around my dance injury too with PT stuff, so I wasn't afraid of hurting myself. After that, I remember when I was in the thick of trying to, like, maintain hip, I used to go to the gym and I'd get on the treadmill and I'd put it not at an incline, but I would just walk for 2 hours on the treadmill. I'd just walk and I'd speed it up higher and higher. So I would basically be, like, fast walking and I'd walk for straight up 2 hours because I could feel it in my butt toning. Yeah. But then again, I wasn't doing, and I was still getting a full workout, but I remember I used to do that all the time. I'd just, like, walk.
I watch TV.
Yep. Or I'd watch YouTube videos on my phone, or I'd listen to, like, podcasts. Or
I could walk on a treadmill forever. I really like
once
to
you get in the zone, yes.
Yeah, when you get in the zone. I really like to sweat, and so I'll, like, walk, and then I'll ramp it up, and I'll run for as long as I can, which, to be honest with you, is, like, maybe a minute and a half. Okay. I hate running, but I'll go as fast as I can, and I always wear, like, a zip up, because I'm like, if I'm going to be doing this, it's going to be effective. But my favorite is rock climbing. I love rock climbing. Cool. It's super empowering.
You should join, like, a rock gym.
We go to the Source in Vancouver.
Oh, there you go.
But it's really hard. You get all the way up to the top, and then you can just, like, let go. But that's not, like, it's not going to do anything really for, like, your hip measurements and stuff.
No, it's just fun.
Yeah, I can't. My butt is just there. I think my hips are just what they're going to be, which is fine by me.
I have given up on that now too.
It's a hard
But when you're in the thick of like puberty and the modeling world is slightly built on the measurements of prepubescent women.
Yep.
And then it's like, well, you go through puberty and you get like a bust and you get a butt, and then it's like, well, try to go back to your sizes because turning back the clock would be gorgeous. On that note, don't lie about your measurements. Don't
lie about them.
If you are going to, I'd say you can lie about a half inch.
Mm-hmm.
If you're 35 and a half hip, I feel like you could pull 35 and be like, it's fine.
Yeah.
If you're over an inch though, no, because it's going to change everything, and your designer is going to be frustrated, especially if they're making something custom to your thing or adjusting something custom to your thing, not necessarily making like a custom garment, but making a dress with you in mind, so they make it in your measurements. Because I mean, that's happened to me several times where they'll message you and be like, I want you to wear this, what are your current sizes? Be upfront. It might feel weird, like you might feel some weird level of like, well, I don't want to be those sizes or whatever, but like just be upfront about it, because it's like you don't want to ruin a piece of a garment that's super expensive. Also, like, they just spent all this time in it, and you want to look good in it too. You don't want to walk into the fitting or the show and have it not fit, like, because that'd be terrible.
Like, an inch doesn't sound like a lot, but
it's a lot
to a designer. Not only is that a lot, not only is that like that's more than an inch of fabric because of seam allowance and everything, but they are so used to looking at a waist, and they can look at you and get a good idea of what your measurement is.
It's honestly magic.
Yeah. And so you're not fooling anybody. I used to be really afraid to just like say my sizes for whatever reason. I'd be like, oh, I'm going to be 1 inch too big, and they're going to say, well, never mind. Yeah. Which has never happened to me.
No, but I just think it's a fear.
Oh, yeah. 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 Just know if you have that fear, you're not the only one. But oddly enough, like, what I kind of started doing, which maybe this sounds weird, but like I would notice other models' measurements, like on their comp cards or whatever, and then I'd start to realize like, oh, no, I'm like the same size. Yeah. So then I was like, oh, okay, because you don't look it up on the internet, really, what you should be.
No. I mean, I could tell you what you should be, but that's not. Yeah. They're not. To me, the traditional models. Thin sizing, I don't think super matters anymore. It still does in some way, but I think we're moving away from it for the most part.
What would you say those measurements are?
The bust is like a 32 to a 34. The waist, I'd say, is a 24 to a 26, and then the hip is 34, 35 and a half at the most.
The hip
is the hardest part. Yeah. Because for me, I fit that on the top, and then my hip is a 38, so it's not that. So
yeah, I fit the top, and well, whatever.
Hip is always, I feel like, the hardest.
Yeah.
We're doing fine.
We're doing fine, guys.
We're okay. I feel like hip is always the hardest measurement, and it was the hardest measurement whenever I was trying to really work for it. It was the hardest one to get. It's the easiest one to lose. It's the one that I feel like moves the most. If you like gain or lose weight, you can instantly tell in the hip measurement.
Yeah. Especially in women.
Yes.
And too, for anybody that's like listening to this, I don't know, and think it's like disgusting to try and reduce yourself for a job, try and think, if you're being healthy about it, try and think of like a bodybuilder that needs to be able to lift 15 more pounds. They're going to do what it takes to get themselves there. And as long as you're being healthy about it, it's, I don't know.
Yeah, don't be unhealthy about it.
No, don't. I mean,
it's not worth it. Please do not do it.
It's not at all. Reach out for help if you're like struggling with things. Like I was struggling for a while there. I was really fluctuating, and like I said, I weigh myself consistently because for me the number is what keeps me on track. And I realized I started fluctuating a lot more, and I was like bloating like 3 to 4 pounds. I had never experienced that before to that extreme, and I started drinking like a kombucha every day. Yeah. Doesn't happen anymore.
It's supposed to be really good for your digestive
and your
system.
Skin and everything. Yeah. And it just, somebody simply like, I saw them drinking it, and I was like, do you really like those? And the model told me, she was like, well, I struggle with this. And then I was like, I struggle with that. And so that little tip, I mean, hearing that saved me from feeling like I need to like add an extra hour onto my workout each week. So, I don't know. Do you have any good tips?
Don't tell me to eat a burger because it's not gonna happen, and so just stop because it's like.
Can we at least say like a steak?
Something
fancy,
better.
Fancy if you're vegan.
Tell me something nicer. I guess I'll get into my thing. Yeah. So I currently have a chronic illness. I've been living with it for 3 years now. I have gastroparesis, which is the partial paralyzation of the stomach muscles, which essentially means my stomach doesn't really work. It doesn't digest things properly. It doesn't break things down properly. So I'm on a super strict diet for that reason, and I take a billion supplements, and I see a gastroenterologist. I go to a lot of doctor's appointments. I'm on like several different medications. And so with that, my measurements actually got what I call frozen. Like I'm frozen in time. Like I actually can't gain weight. I do gain and lose weight. Like I can step on a scale and you can tell there's a difference. But if you were to measure me today and then next month, they'd be the same. Like they don't really change at all. If they do, it's really, really small. So like you can't even really tell. Like my hips pretty much stay at 38. They don't change. They don't shift. And it's because I can't really lose or gain weight. Like I go up and down probably between 2 to 3 pounds, just but I really can't, like if I can't gain weight because I can't overeat, because I have to pace out my meals. I have to eat very specific meals. So now when people tell me stuff like that, it's like, well, I literally can't control it. And also like I have an uncurable illness. Like I can't fix it, and it's already really hard to deal with. And because there's no cure, they don't also have very good medication for it without like really intense side effects. So I'm on a certain medication that is helpful, but it only can do so much. And I also don't like taking it all the time because it is really hardcore on the body. So doing that with modeling also was a huge hurdle, because I remember when I started going through it, going to my agency and being like, look, I have this. They were really a little concerned because like I had settled into my sizes and they weren't changing. And so it's like, they're never going to change anymore. This is where I am. And they were like slightly worried about booking me on things or maybe pushing me out to other markets. It's because like, can you travel with someone who has that kind of a thing? And yeah, it's more challenging, but it's doable. Or you just take the pain. Like you just take it and you just like load up on the drugs they give you and you figure it out. But so that affects me a lot. Like I've had to cancel a couple of shoots because I've had really rough nights and they roll over into the next morning. So that means I can't go into the next morning. It's hopefully getting better. I just got a diagnosis that it's potentially changing into something else, but they now don't know what that is. So that for me means more rounds of testing and stuff. And I really haven't told anybody about this in the field, because I'm not here to play like the pity card or anything, but I diet now, quote unquote, because I like need to. It's a safety thing. It's like a health thing. I need to get nutrients that I barely get now anyway, because it's really hard on me.
So the next time you see Devin eating her rice crackers, don't be an asshole.
Literally, that's all I can eat. Like, leave me, guys. The amount of chips that have corn in them, and I can't eat corn-based things.
Really?
If you look at almost any cracker / chip, most of them at least have cornstarch or are corn-based, and I can't eat corn. So it's like I'm stuck with like rice-based things, and there's not as many. Yeah. So it's so hard to find like a snack thing. Just me ranting about my issue, but like literally, it's the hardest thing. So that's why also bringing food to set, you will probably often see me with rice crackers, because there's only so many things I can bring and only so much I can do. So it kind of depends.
So help break the model stereotype. Because they're eating like a rice cracker. And some people just like that stuff.
It's also, I mean, they're pretty good.
Yeah, I like there's some rice crackers I really like.
I'm just like a salt person, so I like salty things, and they're salty, so I like them.
And I think a lot of people also don't realize that a lot of really like skinny girls, especially younger, are crazy self-conscious.
Yeah.
Like, they're being told things like, oh, you have chicken legs, or like,
or they have a super fast metabolism too when they're younger, so it's like they actually can't even control it.
Right.
Like,
and they feel really like gangly about it, or other like, especially girls, like other girls will make comments about it and they start to feel self-conscious. Like there's there's a hurtful side to that as well. And just because someone's thin doesn't mean like they're happy there.
No.
Like there's this, I wish I could remember her name now, but I read this whole article on this model who would like, it was really hard for her to like maintain quote unquote model sizes, but she was doing it for a while. And then she was really unhappy that way. She was working a lot, but really unhappy. But people were constantly like, you look amazing. What do you do? What do you do? And that's can be a compliment, but for her, she hated the way she looked. And then so finally she just like became, I think, more of a plus size model.
Was this recent?
It was
okay,
very recent.
I know exactly who you're talking about. I can't remember her name, but I remember seeing that article.
It was some famous, yeah.
I think she might have been a Victoria's Secret model.
Possibly.
I can't remember though.
And they talk a lot about, you know, so yeah, you don't make assumptions about it. If you are close with somebody and you're worried about them,
that's different.
That's different. And, you know, there's a lot of resources out there to get help and like signs to look out for. But it's like walking up to a woman that doesn't have children, that's in like her late 30s, and asking her
why you don't have children. That's actually that's a good one.
Yeah, it's totally different, but like just to put it in a different mindset for somebody who, I don't know, whatever. Okay. Yeah, I have like good.
I think it's also the assumption of being like, well, you're so pretty, you don't need to work on like your skin or something like that. It's like, well, no, everyone should technically be doing stuff for that, but it's like you still need to maintain.
I just threw
Nicole
my pen
dropped her pen. She is ready.
I'm going to talk about this now. I didn't even think about it, but I'm not going to go into like a ton of details. But earlier this summer, there was this this person that started like going through my Facebook messages and calling me a toxic person, a toxic image, that just by having my image out there, I made other women feel bad about themselves. And I like still have it all like screenshotted. It made me feel like shit. I mean, I bounced back pretty quickly because I was like, wait a minute. But like, because I'm white, skinny, tall, and I do modeling, so in their interpretation, I'm attractive to them, I can be called toxic, but they literally told me there is no way to degrade me, while they proceeded to degrade me. And that it still sticks with me, like skinny white bitch. Like it's
all
like
right. I have several questions. First off, that's very terrible. Were they like privately messaging you, or were they posting these on like your photos, like commenting on photos?
They privately messaged me it.
Oh, that's ballsy.
Yeah. I was like, who the fuck do you think you are? Yeah. And so
that's so
I know
weird because it's not like you yourself are being like, you should diet. It's not like you ever post anything like too. That's just such an odd.
I know.
What?
Sometimes I post something from the gym, but like every single person
a lot of people post gym stuff.
Yeah. I do it in a way to like be proud that I'm being healthy, but then I feel kind of annoying after I do it. I don't do selfies. I'll do like
gym
I'll
selfies.
Film like the stair stepper or whatever. But yeah, like, and so it hit me
that's so mean.
That like just me, just the way that I look, and even if I did these things, no one deserves to hear it. But like, I don't dye my hair. Like, I'm just blonde. Like, I am. I don't know, my race is my race. Like, I'm really healthy at the size that I'm at, and somebody sees that as toxic. And I realize, like, the privilege and stuff that comes from me not really having experienced it on that personal of a level. But damn, like, it's on both sides of everything.
But them tearing you down doesn't make them any better. It's just like you're still hurting somebody.
Yeah. And it was crazy. And then I started realizing that, you know, people, when change wants to be affected, as it should be, they tend to like, I don't know.
That's so odd.
Yeah, I'm like losing words for it now because I didn't really think it through before I started talking about it. But it was really like shocking. And I don't want anyone to feel that way. And it was especially shocking because I do feel like I work really hard to like bring people up and like empower them to like be the way that they are and whatnot. So whatever, that happened.
I feel like maybe when people start finding out tell me if this happened to you. I feel like when you start telling more people that you are modeling or you are modeling, I think their first thought is to start interrogating you about like food and like what you eat and what you do and how you do it and like, do you work out? What do you do to keep up this? I think that's like the first thought that people jump to, which to me is like, I think it's just ingrained in the brains from the media potentially, because I don't know what other profession you'd be like, well, how do you do that? Like, I just would never think like, that. Yeah. I would never go and ask a pageant queen, what do you diet? I would be like, oh, that's so cool. Like, what? I feel like my first question for someone in that field would be like, oh my gosh, like, what's your talent? Yeah. I wouldn't be like,
what got you into it? Why are you interested?
And that's also a really common question. But to me, it's almost like also is the dieting question or the like the do you eat food scenario. And it's like, well, of course I eat food. I'm a person. Like I'm not sitting here just staring at food and like sniffing it and then being like, all right, that was dinner. Like that's never happening.
I think it's the assumption that all models have an eating disorder.
Which, I mean...
Or that you have to have an eating disorder to be...
that skinny.
Yeah.
It is a problem, but like...
It's a big problem.
It's a big problem. We've talked about it already. We've given stats. But,
yeah.
I don't think it's like super common. I mean, it's a problem, but I have only encountered, I think, a couple of people who I know who have had eating disorders in our field. Most of them do not.
Yeah. I have had, I guess you always have it. I used to be anorexic, but it had nothing to do with modeling.
Wasn't that before you were modeling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so...
that doesn't count.
That just like, it just happens to be there. So it's like, it's not always because of, a lot of times it's like you're depressed and it leads to that or whatever. It's not always because of pressures. A lot of it is. But yeah, that's a weird question. It's like either that or like, I was telling you my story the other day about how my dentist asked me like what I do for a living, and I told him, and he was like, so you like model clothing? And I was like,
that's beautiful.
I mean, predominantly, yeah. Like, it was so funny.
I just model a glove. Just
people
one
think it's
glove.
Weird. I know. I feel like we've talked about this before.
That's
but like
so
today
funny.
I went to FedEx to pick up some stuff I got printed for New York. And it's modeling stuff. It has like whatever. And the girl at FedEx, like, she was laughing at me. Like, you could tell. Because she had to print them and see them.
Rude.
I know. And I just wanted to be like, fuck you.
What if I was a family?
Yeah, I know. Like, whatever.
But...
anyways,
see, that's another side tangent, which we talked about a couple episodes ago, printing photos of yourself. That's another thing. When you get photos printed, someone is printing them, and then I feel like they kind of judge you when you're the one that comes and picks it up. Like if you had like Zach pick them up, I feel like it'd be better because they'd be like, oh, I'm printing these photos of my wife.
He's
and then
in
it's
Canada, or I would have made him go.
And then it's maybe cuter, right? But when you're the one picking up your own photos, it looks even worse. And you're just like, you know what?
I haven't done that in so long though. I'm like a Shutterfly.
I like Shutterfly too, but I used to do it at Walgreens a lot, and I'd have to go, and the people would just look at me like, and I'm like,
If I ever needed like a big print, I'd go to Costco, and you'd have to deal with people.
The people of the world.
Whatever. It's fine.
Any final thoughts?
I have like one funny tip that I heard this a long time ago. I wish I could remember the exact model, but they're in the like grouping of like Heidi Klum or like up in there, supermodel.
Super.
Their suggestion for making like getting yourself comfortable with your body and maybe noticing some of the things you don't necessarily like and figuring out how to improve them is to like walk around your house in your underwear, because you're just out there for like if you're alone or whoever you're comfortable, but you'll walk by mirrors and you'll like.
That's also. Jumping off your random tip, I was once told by a couple of probably photographers that like that's a good way to track your measurements is if you wake up in the morning, not necessarily naked, and you go into your mirror, maybe just in like your underwear, and you take a photo of yourself, and then you do it every single day. You can actually see the changes if you're trying to tone or if you're trying to gain weight, if you're trying to lose weight, you can actually track the physical changes right when you wake up because that's when your body is first getting going. So you can actually see like, oh, my butt's maybe gotten smaller today. It's gotten larger. It's actually a really good way to track your physical sizes because like when you talk to a photographer, like most of them can tell instantly if you've gained in your measurements.
Because they're just used to seeing it
significantly. So it's like, that's a tip that I had never thought of until a couple of them threw that out to me. And I was like, that's actually like a really good idea. Yeah. That's also a good idea for practicing your walk is to do it a bunch in front of mirrors or have people film you. Yep. Freshman
from different angles.
Yes. Freshman year of college, I had my roommate film me walking outside of my dorm building for Fashion Next because I had to send a runway video and I didn't have any saved. So I took Olivia and I was like, hey, can you come film me doing a walk? And I'm in a normal boot, but it was a high-heeled boot. But I'm like outside my dorm hall and I'm waiting for there not to be people so no one walks in front of the video. And then I just do it. And I sent that in as my formal runway video. Yeah. And I'm just like, oh man, that probably looks really weird. Because I didn't even look at it. I just like sent it. I was like, here you go. Like, to prove I can do this. But if you do that enough, it'll actually show you like we've talked about the arm thing, one of our arm moves. Yeah. It'll show you like if you have any weird quirks while you're walking that maybe you don't notice while you're walking, but then like you can adjust it.
I've been really trying to like get my like signature to my walk, like find my style.
Yeah, good luck.
I found it. I feel like I found it.
Okay, what is it?
I don't know. I feel most confident in like my walk looks the best when I walk like lead a little bit more with my hips. And I sit like a little bit more into my hips.
That's how you're supposed to.
So
I'm not supposed to.
Well, I guess like for me, I feel like I've found where
you're comfortable.
Yeah. And the way that I kind of got there was, so I found the supermodels that I loved their walks, and I would just watch them, and then I would film myself, and I'd watch them like side by side.
That's honestly a good way to figure out your walk signature if you don't have one, or if you can't do walking classes too. Yeah. I was always told this, even though I did have the pleasure of getting walking classes. But if you can't, I used to watch a crap ton of runway videos, and you just watch them walk, and you just honestly, you start by mimicking. It's not going to feel natural, but eventually your brain is just going to be able to click into it and be like, yes, this is mine. This is my walk.
And it feels so good
once you get it.
When you hit it and you get it. And then you're just like, oh, I got this. Like, you still practice because it's muscle memory. Like, before a show, usually the night before, I'll practice in my heels. Just to make sure I don't need to like put an insert in or anything. And
that's a good idea.
Try to just like get back to the walk, and it feels really good.
I don't do that because I'm not a professional model, obviously. No, but I do it at the show. I'll do them at the show, but I don't know what my signature is. I know I have one because people will come up to me and tell me that they like my walk. But
the first time that happened, it felt so good.
I can't really identify what it is though. Like, perfect example, Savannah Fellers. I know you're probably listening. I love you. But she stomps. And that's her signature, and she looks damn good doing it.
I remember watching her at Fashion Next 2 years ago, and I was like, oh my god. She had like massive wide leg pants on. I'm super creepy right now. Super creepy.
And that is her signature. Yeah. And so clearly she could probably identify that that's her signature too. But when people come up to me and tell me they like my walk, it's usually other models or like some of my family they'll like it. And I'm like, yeah, but like, I don't know if anyone can truly identify what my signature is. I know I just have one.
Your face. Aww, you have a very distinct, like, runway, like, face. I'm going to watch I'm going to see. Do you have videos on your Instagram? I'm going to get all creepy.
I do. I also do the pivot turn, which I know a lot of people don't. I do the step back turn. Yeah. If it's a stick runway, which is just straight up and down, but like not a lot of them are, so I don't have the opportunity to do that. But if I can, that's how I was always, not necessarily taught, but that's kind of how I learned how to do the step back and turn. So that's what I like doing that way better than a pivot. Yeah. Pivot to me feels really awkward.
A pivot feels very like pageant-y.
Unless you have to do a continuous turn if you're in a gown. Yeah. But then that feels like a nice flow. But the pivot to me feels so fake. I'm like, I don't like this. I feel like it looks uncomfortable. Like, I don't like it. Yeah. Don't like a pivot.
I've totally caught myself, like, pivoting depending on the outfit. Yeah. Because sometimes I don't know.
Sometimes it calls for it. It depends.
I went to a runway audition once where they had us do, like, we walked straight and we weren't supposed to stop at all, and we had to like hook back around. They had a name for it. And then we had to turn around mid, like walk back and pose and then turn around again.
Ugh, no.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
It was, I feel like I did well. But it was hard. Like, it wasn't hard. It opened my eyes to all of the little things.
Because they sometimes do weird runway things.
No.
No?
Well, they do have an interesting runway, but this for the casting, it was for couture and cars. But it made me, one thing it pointed out to me, which I feel silly never having thought of before, but when you turn, getting back into the middle isn't as like
it's hard,
easy as you would think.
No, you hug the side initially.
Yeah, and like
and then you won't notice till you're halfway down.
And it's hard to like catch your stride again, or like if you're stepping off a stair, you like can lose your stride and step down really heavy. But we should post some walking videos. That would be fun to share.
Sufficient tangent.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with dieting.
It's a workout.
It is a workout. Although I will say, like, I work out harder before runways, because if I know I'm wearing like this strapless gown and I'm walking, like I'll work out my arms more.
That's a good tip.
Because when you're modeling, I mean, you can flex. If you're lifting your arms, you'll get like the definition or whatever. But
or if you're doing swimwear,
yeah, I would totally like want to tone up. Or if my legs are more exposed, like if it's a shorter dress or whatever, I'll try and like tone up there more.
I'm more conscious about stretch marks.
Yeah.
This is more of a beauty tip, I guess. I try to do more of those if I know, this is just where I am in my life, if I know potentially people are going to see my butt, I'm like, okay, I need to do my thingies. Because I have, like, every woman has stretch marks. Welcome to being a woman. But it's like, to me, they're slightly more noticeable. So, because it's on display, right? So, I'll do, like, more oils and stuff to, like, help, like, reduce those a little bit so that when it hits the lights, it's not as obvious. Or the crease when you sit down.
Yeah.
If you slouch, you get like almost the ab looking crease, but they're not abs.
Everybody gets it. Everybody,
so you got like on the runway day, sometimes you're more aware. You're like, if you're gonna have like your tummy showing a little or something.
Or if you're like bloated or whatever, like you want to make sure.
Being bloated before a runway is the worst. Being on your cycle on a runway is the worst, because you could have been working out a bunch and eating really healthy, and then that goes like to crap. Yeah. And you show up to the show and you're just like, ugh, like, and you don't want to deal with it.
That sucks. Or like having allergies or anything that makes like your eyes or nose itchy or watery, because you can't scratch it. Like once that makeup's on there, especially the nose, because it's so thin, it wipes off so easily.
So quick.
But like on the stretch mark note, cellulite is what I'm paranoid about cellulite. I have it. I think everybody does for the most part. I don't have stretch marks yet. Now that I've said that, I'm sure I will. But cellulite, that one, I don't know. I don't have it. I don't know.
I think people are just hyper aware of things.
I think so too, because I've pointed it out before to like my husband or whatever, and he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
No.
But I will say one thing: you will never catch me in light gray leggings, like workout pants. It's there. It's real.
Light gray. Okay.
It's not that. I mean, yeah.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh. Real. Okay. Well,
obsessions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
If you got one, go, because I got to think of one.
Okay, so I have two.
Go for it.
Okay, I'll just do both.
Yeah.
So one thing I'm really obsessed with, and I get like really into this and then stop for a bit, but I upcycle denim jackets, and so I have ones that are like covered in pearls and ones that are covered, like I deconstructed an old military jacket and combined it with the jean jacket. I do stuff like that, and it's super fun, and I've gotten back into that, and right now I'm completely covering a denim jacket in hand-cut denim stars.
Ooh.
So that'll take me a long ass time. And then for everybody's entertainment purposes, Schitt's Creek on Netflix is hilarious. And so it's a Canadian film show. Eugene Levy is the writer, and his son. And the mom in it is the mom from Home Alone. And it's so hilarious. Watch it. There's 4 seasons out. It's on Netflix. It's about this like super wealthy family. It's totally a parody on like this whole thing, but super wealthy family that loses all their money, but they own this town called Schitt's Creek, and they have to go live in the motel. It's hilarious.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Give it a watch.
Yeah. Going off that, I guess I just thought of it while you were talking. if you have HBO, which I know a lot of people don't, but there's a new show on it called The Glorious Gemstones, and it's of making fun of evangelical Christians, but the form of evangelical Christians that was really popular in, like, I'm gonna say like 80s, 90s, when they were like
the televangelists on TV.
Yes, on TV. Yeah. Thank you, televangelists. I couldn't think of the name. That one, where they were like broadcasting on TV all the time, and they were like in stadium congregations and stuff, and it's so funny. There's really funny. I haven't watched
Righteous Gemstones.
Righteous Gemstones. Yeah. It's not Glorious Gemstones. Righteous Gemstones. But John Goodman is like the lead dad, and he just plays it so well. Like, I agree. But it's really good. It's a good cast too.
It has Adam Devine.
Yeah.
Who was from Pitch Perfect. And he has actually a comedy special on Netflix. That's really funny.
It's okay. Devin thought it was okay.
I caught so many jokes that he missed making.
Oh.
And so.
Yeah.
Anyways, I tried to help you there, Adam. Sorry.
He was okay.
And then the guy from Kenny Powers.
Yes.
What's his name?
I don't know.
That guy.
But I know exactly.
He's funny. Everyone thinks he's funny.
I recognize the sister too, but I can't place her name. But she's also super recognizable. And like if once you see her, you'd know who I was talking about.
It's a good show.
But there's only 3 episodes right now. I haven't watched the most recent one because it's on my computer. But they're really good. Like, I think they're really well done. So yeah. Cool.
Yay.
Alrighty. Well,
thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah.
Subscribe if you can do that.
Yeah.
Rate and review.
Teaser. Episode 10, we will have a special guest. We will not say who it is yet, but it'll be our first interview, and we're very excited.
We got a new microphone for it.
Yes, I just purchased it. It'll be here before the interview. Also, that one, warning, might be a little longer, and it's just because it's going to be an interview. So I understand if you're maybe impatient, that's going to be long. We're not going to turn it into a 2-parter though. Yeah. We're just going to keep it however long it is. So
enjoy.
Just love the fact that it's going to be a long episode. Okay.
Follow us on Instagram at Model Talk Podcast PDX, and the same name on Facebook, and we're going to post like photos that we talk about today and different things that go along with the different episodes. And you'll get reminders that the show is on every Thursday at 10.
Yep.
Yay.
Bye.
Bye, guys.